The global markets aren't providing any soft landings at the moment. However, the world would be a much harsher place if a Great Depression befalls. Keep watching our video to explore what 98.2% of people don't know about the next recession. What you don't know about the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Russia and Ukraine provide 28% of the world's wheat, 29% of its barley, 15% of maize, and 75% of the corn. If these goods were to disappear from the market, there would be hundreds of millions of famished people prepared to storm presidential residences. You see, when there's nothing on the table, what's there to lose anyway? Nearly 250 million people are on the brink of famine, and hundreds of millions more are being forced into poverty as a result of having to spend a greater percentage of their income on food. Lebanon, Tunisia, and Egypt buy the majority of their grains from Ukraine. The problem is that Mariupol, or the Odessa port, handle more than 90% of Ukraine exports. One is completely under Russian control, and the other is blocked by Russian ships. On top of that, the US and its allies slap severe sanctions on Russia, which limits its wheat exports and causes market scarcity, driving up food prices. Russia is the greatest fertilizer exporter in the world, but in an effort to put pressure on the West, it banned fertilizer exports, which exacerbated the shortage of wheat and raised prices. As a result, many nations banned exports of crucial supplies like wheat, worsening the situation. Nevertheless, the triggers of inflation are more than one. Stick to the next segments of our video to know. Also, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button below. Find the oil. JP Morgan anticipates oil prices to top $380 if Russia curbs supplies. Russia produces 10.8 million barrels of oil a day, making it the third largest producer behind the US and Saudi Arabia. Theoretically, Russia has the ability to reduce its oil output by over 7 million barrels in order to raise oil prices and put pressure on the West to stop supporting Kyiv. Experts predict that a 3 million barrel reduction in Russia's daily production will raise oil prices to $190. That's almost double what they currently cost. The worst-case scenario calls for a daily reduction of 5 million barrels, which could result in stratospheric crude oil prices of $380. Putin's administration will generate more money this year from high oil prices and can afford to cut output in winter. If the past 6 months have taught us anything, it's that Russia is suffering and can't crush Ukraine resistance, so it's ready to use any weapon to declare victory over Kyiv. A $380 oil price will raise food costs to new heights. Due to the huge decline in demand caused by such high prices, the business circle would suffer, causing more unemployment and a new recession. The future of price hikes. Wheat, barley, and other essential commodities are in limited supply worldwide, which is raising prices across the board, not just in the US. Thus, just because the Fed increased interest rates, it does not always follow that inflation will decrease. However, only asset prices are likely to decrease. The Fed managed to stop asset inflation after 10 years, but it has limited control over consumer prices. The worldwide food prices didn't start with Russia's invasion of Ukraine. China, the world's top wheat producer, says last year's rains may have ruined its harvest. Extreme temperatures and a lack of rain in India, the world's second largest producer, threaten output in other breadbaskets, from America's wheat belt to French areas. The greatest drought to hit the Horn of Africa in 4 decades is causing havoc situation. Add disrupted global supply chains and you have a disaster. However, Ukraine exported much of the summer's crop before the fighting, and Russia is still selling its grain despite extra costs and hazards for shipping. So what's the big deal? The most frightening fact is, winter is coming. Is the coming winter a cold nightmare? If the war doesn't end before winter, Ukraine's next cargo won't leave Ukrainian land, and Russia won't hesitate to use wheat as a weapon to block the West from helping Ukraine and proclaiming victory. Food prices would soar if it comes to that, and 9.1% inflation would be seen as the good old days. The biggest commercial partner of the United States, Europe, might easily enter a recession this winter. Even while Europe says it will completely stop using Russian gas, doing so in practice is far more difficult than most people realize. It lacks the necessary infrastructure to carry it out. German companies were dependent on inexpensive Russian gas during the previous 2 decades, while many European nations are limiting their Russian gas imports now. It will be much harder in a few months when people start heating their homes. Natural gas cannot be easily imported. To be able to import natural gas, you need the necessary infrastructure, which takes years and billions of dollars to create, and which Europe most certainly won't be able to achieve by the upcoming winter. Therefore, if Russia decides to use natural gas as a weapon in the upcoming winter, it might trigger a recession in Europe. And as the EU is the US top trading partner and China's second largest export market, that will have a significant negative impact on both China's and US's economies. The Fed is getting ready to hike rates by another 0.75 basis points to further reduce demand, since the globe is going to experience such a calamity. Here, viewers, we reach the end of our video. All we can say is predictions are extremely tough at this point, because so much relies on how Russia's invasion of Ukraine plays out. However, one thing is for certain: if things continue as they are, a recession or even stagflation is unavoidable.